Hi, everyone. I'm Key Williams. I'm a research assistant at Shen Labs, and I'm here interviewing Dr. Rollins. Just to start off, I'd like to start with introductions. If you wanted to go ahead and introduce yourself, just name, occupation, and any relevant information. So,
Sure. So I'm Oliver Rollins. I'm an assistant professor of American Ethnic Studies at the University of Washington here in Seattle. Like I'm a sociologist by training, and my research focuses on social, ethical, policy implications of neuroscience more broadly, and particularly thinking about issues of race, racism, social inequality through both the making and potential use of neuroscience and neurotechnologies.
okay, that's amazing. Just to start out, I want to ask what career path led you to your current occupation?
Yeah, so this is always an interesting question for me. I'm originally from Houston, and I started off my career as a biology student at the University of Houston. Toward the end of that, my undergrad time, I, like many other undergrads, wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do. And so I had a mentor who was a professor of African American Studies at the time, and essentially really helped me kind of think through, potential options, right? I'm a first kind of generation, person going to grad school, both in college and grad school. So like didn't really know like what are my options in that sense, right? And so um Dr. Conyers at the time kind of gave me an option of going to grad school, but wanting me to go to grad school for Black Studies. So he essentially said, why don't you get your master's in Black Studies? And then we'll continue to talk and think about potential options. One option I was thinking about was maybe going to pharmacy school, things like that. So it's like, we can come back and give this since you're not quite sure. So I went off to the University of Louisville. I received my master's in Pan-African Studies while I was there. And while I was there, my mentors there essentially were like, maybe you should think about going to go do a PhD, right? And part of my training there, because my mentors were sociologists, was, maybe you want to go into sociology, right? And I was like, okay. At the time, I was really interested in questions around health, but also around violence. And so I ended up being accepted to the University of California, San Francisco, UCSF. So I did my PhD at. And there I was originally planning to write dissertation, do research on violence prevention. I was working with my mentor there, Howard Penderhughes, who does work in violence as a health problem. So I was thinking about like youth prevention, both in Oakland and Bayview Hunters Point, which is a portion of San Francisco. And for the first few years, that's really was what I wanted to do until I began to take these classes on what we call like science technology studies and STS, and was the first time I realized that you could actually study science in a way, more in a philosophical, sociological way of like the production of knowledge. And I was like, I want to do that. And so that, in a way, helped me merge together a lot of the things that I was thinking about, from health, science, race, racism, inequality, violence, all into kind of my dissertation, which was looking at neuroscientists who the social ethical implications of the neuroscience of crime or neuroscience of violence, right? Antisocial behavior. And it was really a merging together of a lot of different things, right? So thinking about my training as a biology student, master's within Black Studies, and really thinking much more coming out of kind of a different kind of epistemological stance. And then training as a medical sociologist and someone who studies like the production of knowledge. So that's kind of what got me to the point that I was, that I'm at now, really, of like thinking about these kind of issues within the neurosciences around both the production of neuroscience, knowledge, technology, and its relationship to systemic inequalities within our society.
That is amazing and extensive. I actually am from Kentucky, so when you said U of L, my
Oh,
ears perked up.
yeah.
And what would you say that your day-to-day life as a neuroethics and sociology professor looks like?
So day to day, maybe not too different from other folks within our profession of like just being a professor. I mean, we tend to have a very different schedule life than most people because we don't really, it's not a 9 to 5 job, much of the year we're probably either combination of teaching, research, meetings, service work. The summer, teaching may go away, but all the other things are still there. You tend to try to do much of your research during that time. So typically on a day-to-day, I'm both teaching, working with students, so because I have research projects that are ongoing. So I have some undergraduate research assistants that I work with, and then kind of doing service work. I also have been building in a lot more of trying to do more collaborative things with neuroscientists because I'm not a neuroscientist by training. So